Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of The Bullet. My name is Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. Joining me today from Northern New York, Matt Mallory of Meet the Pressers. Matt, it's been a while. Thanks for coming on the show today, man.
Thanks for having me. It does feel like it's been quite a while.
I think 2 weeks ago we had to fill in. We had to get a fill in for one reason or another. I do not exactly remember why, but so it's been at least. And then I think 4 weeks ago I was in Idaho, and so it's been probably 6 weeks since you've been on the show.
Yeah, feels like forever.
Let's go ahead and get started today by saying if you're and we're even wider distribution now. If you are watching us anywhere you watch us with live video, you should be able to comment on the video, and I'll get that comment and put it on the air. Specifically, if you're on the Polite Society Podcast Facebook page and the YouTube channel for Polite Society Podcast, I know it works. A group in Facebook, I may get your comment, but I may not know who you are. So anyway, if you are watching anywhere and you want to guarantee to get your comment in on the air, go to Twitter, tweet with the hashtag #TheBullet. That way I'll know who you are and what you're saying, and we'll get your comment on the air. We'll discuss it. Matt, let's get started today. First story I got, this off WHYY.org. Just going to read a little bit of this article. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy is soon expected, he did today, sign 2 new regulations revising the state's concealed carry laws, which removes justifiable needs standard while upping other requirements. Supporters say it will make the state safer, especially in underserved neighborhoods in cities like Newark, Camden, and Trenton, where reports of gun-related crime are among the highest in the state. However, some gun owners in these historically marginalized communities think the new regulations could further put their neighborhood at risk. I've got 2 quotes out of this story. A lot of people within the black community perceive incidents such as the killing of George Floyd and other instances highlighting their need for personal protection. Also in cities that have high crime rates, particularly high violent crime rates such as in the white community, people feel empowered to defend themselves, and many people in the black community feel empowered to have a firearm to defend themselves. Next quote, historically, ever since slavery, firearms have been a means of self-defense and self-preservation for black people in America. There is a perception that perhaps during the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 60s, black people in America en masse put down their guns and lived by a nonviolent strategy. But that's far from the truth.
Yep.
Matt, there is a strong there's a strong minority presence, right? Minority presence in the firearms community. So much so that I would not be surprised that old white guys like me become the minority in the near future.
And it's interesting how they referred back in this article to slavery and such. And I'm seeing a lot more African Americans, blacks coming into the firearms industry and getting involved in it, which is great. I mean, it's great that that's happening because, for one, Second Amendment's for everybody, and for 2, it's a way for them to kind of push back against those who want to, oppress them in that sense. And I always say it, and we know it, and when we say it, people say, oh, that's not true, but the KKK was founded by a certain party, and that certain party is passing all the gun laws to keep the citizens from having guns. I mean, it kind of adds up.
That's absolutely accurate. Yeah, the KKK was formed by specifically liberal Democrats, but and it's always been the repression has come from that side more than the other side, although I will not give Republicans a total pass on repression. But because they do want to control your lives in other ways. But no, the gun control and the racist groups were both formed by liberal members of the far left Democratic Party. Let's put it that way.
For sure. And people need to remember that.
Second story directly related to the first one is this is a press release from SAF, came out today. The Second Amendment Foundation today filed a federal lawsuit against the state of New Jersey, challenging the state's new gun control law prohibiting licensed carry in an expanded list of so-called sensitive places, and further criminalizes carrying an operable handgun while in a vehicle. And let me be clear, we're not talking about buses, we're not talking about taxis, although those are both included. We're talking about your own privately owned vehicle is off limits for concealed carry in New Jersey. If you want a concealed carry, you've got to be able to walk everywhere you want to go, or ride a bicycle, I guess. I don't even know if bicycles are outlawed.
I'm wondering where they're getting the sensitive places from. Maybe the good old state of New York's rubbing off on them a little bit. It's crazy, and they should have taken a little bit of a playbook from what's happening in the courts, because there's 4 cases in New York State that have basically shot down these sensitive locations, sensitive areas, restricted locations. Let's make it even more confusing and come up with other names for it, or the same name with a different ending: sensitive location, sensitive, sensitive area. It's ludicrous.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And specifically in the Bruin decision, Justice Thomas wrote about this, that some sensitive locations are allowed. I believe his exact quote is, however, you cannot make the entire island of Manhattan a sensitive location. New Jersey is trying to make the whole state of New Jersey a sensitive location.
Well, it's like the whole proper cause. That's how it all came about. The whole Bruin decision was revolving around proper cause in New York State. And then what does New York State CCA law do? They turn around and call it a person with good moral character. They're just trying to circumvent it. Just like they said you couldn't make the whole island of Manhattan. So what do? Times Square, with the discretion of NYPD, of where that border is. And of course that border is pushed out way, 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 way past Times Square. And in fact, pretty much making the entire island of Manhattan a sensitive location.
Yes. Yeah, and I think, honestly, Matt, it's just a case of both with New York and New Jersey, and going forward in California, Hawaii, Oregon, other places like that. I guess, give an inch, they're going to take a mile.
Yep.
And if you give them one little thing they can work with, they're gonna push that as far beyond where they reasonably think they could win.
And I think it's time for conservatives to just stop trying to compromise and come up with an amicable solution to that. We just need to stand our ground, if you will. That term flows around a lot in our industry, right? Stand our ground and say, no, this is ridiculous, because the last time we gave you an inch, it's like your child. Your child reaches into the cookie jar, and then you say, no more cookies. And then later that night, they want a cookie, and you give in and you give them a cookie. Well, pretty much before you know it, the whole jar of cookies are gone. Yeah. That's where our Second Amendment rights are. A whole jar of cookies are going to be gone. The whole Second Amendment rights going to be gone if we keep giving in to these tyrants and letting them have a little cookie here and there, and especially when they're stealing cookies from behind our back and they shouldn't be.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I want to go down a little bit in this press release. I want to read a little bit more from it. This is a quote from Alan Gottlieb, my boss. We are asking for a declaratory judgment against certain tenets of the new legislation, explained SAF founder and executive vice president Alan Gottlieb. We are also seeking a preliminary and/or permanent injunction restraining the defendants and their officers, agents, and other employees from enforcing the challenged segment of the law. The specific sections of the law violate right to keep and bear arms protected by the Second Amendment, he continued. There's no established historical tradition that could be used to justify these restrictions. This new legislation literally criminalized licensed carry just about everywhere, making a mockery of the right to bear arms protected by the Second Amendment. And it really did. Both New Jersey and New York have made a mockery of bearing arms. You may be able to keep them, but you better keep them inside your house.
Which is ludicrous. I mean, and then the locations that they're, like in New York specifically, and I keep going back because I'm there, but they ban them in bars that serve alcohol. It's a felony. Like, why not just say if you drink alcohol, that'd be a felony? I'm fine with that. I won't drink alcohol. I try not to anyways because I more lean towards I want my Second Amendment rights than, to get drunk or have alcohol in my system. And I don't want to shoot somebody that I maybe shouldn't have, or maybe not shoot them quick enough and they shoot me because I got alcohol in my system. So I'm fine with that, and I think most people would be. But this just comes down to the way that they're just trying to enforce it and trying to get good legal law-abiding, moral, prudent people who are armed off the street, because those are also the people that they can also charge with a felony now because of New York, and then they can't vote for them who created the law. It's all by design in their book.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And let me back that off just a little bit, because they're also that same side is also often the side trying to get voting rights back for felons. And
yeah, it's weird.
So they're maybe hoping that the felons will remember who gave them back the right to vote. I myself, I'm lost as to why felons don't have the right to vote once they're out of prison. I'm lost as to why felons don't have the right to keep and bear arms when they're out of prison. I could understand a little bit violent felons, but if they're still dangerous, why are they out of prison?
Yeah, good point. Spot on.
And looking over, we still don't have. We just have, and I'm experimenting with this. We've been trying it for a week. Just getting comments in from Facebook user for Hi Paul. I'm guessing that's in a group on Facebook. And Krabby Turtle checking in over on the YouTube side. That's all we've got for comments so far, so we must be doing okay.
There you go. They're agreeing with it.
Yeah, that or they're not violently disagreeing with it, one of the two. Next one I've got TexasTribune.org. Texas will no longer fight to ban 18 to 20-year-olds from carrying handguns in public. A judge ruled earlier this year that a state law banning the practice was unconstitutional, and the Texas instantly filed a notice that it would appeal. But the Texas Department of Public Safety Director Stephen McCraw withdrew the appeal to the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals this week. U.S. District Judge Mark Pittman's ruling was the first major decision about Texas gun laws since the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in June that the Second Amendment provided individuals to carry weapons for self-defense. Looks like Texas said, yeah, we're not going to win this one. We're just not going to waste our effort.
Yeah. Somebody, little birdie on his shoulder, hey, we probably shouldn't be, we're the land of the free. We're Texas, right?
Yeah.
That was a surprising when they started fighting that back then. That was a surprising outcome for that state for sure. So it's good to see that.
It absolutely is, and I'm sure you would agree with me that if you're 18, you can join the military. They'll issue you a fully automatic rifle. They'll expect you to go use that rifle and fight and possibly die for your country. At 18, you can enter a legally binding contract. At 18, there are a whole host of things you can do. And oh, by the way, that other party that we referred to earlier wants to lower the voting age to 16. So you're smart enough to vote but not have a firearm. Doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. No. Yep. That's always and you can't drink. You can get married. You're right.
Well,
it's like you can make all these life decisions, but you can't have a gun to protect yourself because you're not going to make smart enough decisions.
In some states, you can get married in all states you can get married at 18. In some states, you can get married as little as young as, I think Kentucky's is 14 if you have your parents' permission. So at 14 years old, let mom and dad go with them and get their concealed carry permit, and then with that concealed permit, they can buy whatever they want. I'm all for that.
For sure. Yeah, we got married at 16 and 17 here in New York. We got emancipated minors and got married young.
Okay. Very, very cool. Susan and I, when we first got together, I was just barely 18 years old, and she was a little bit better than that, a little bit older than that. Anyway. Wait a minute. We got a comment coming in here, and this one's directed directly at you, Matt.
Oh no!
Sandhills Media wants to go. Oh man, Matt, where's your ugly sweater?
It's upstairs in the bedroom. It was too hot and itchy yesterday.
All right. So explain to everybody a little bit about what that ugly sweater that commentary is all about.
Sure. So Charlie Cook and I did a live show last night for Meet the Pressers and Riding Shotgun with Charlie, our joint live show that we do. And it was a ugly sweater Christmas party. So we had about, I think, 12 or 13 guests on the show total from past shows of both Charlie's and mine. And just had them on just to talk about what's going on, how 2022's went for them, and what 2023 looks like, and for them to wish a Merry Christmas to everybody chiming in. So we
Very cool.
Had my ugly sweater on.
So did all of your guests then find ugly sweaters to wear?
Not all of them. I mean, originally we made that a prerequisite, but then I realized people are saying, I don't have an ugly sweater. I'm like, well, just throw some tinsel and a wreath around your neck. You'll be good. And, yeah, nobody did that, but, yeah, so some people had, some people didn't have ugly sweaters.
Okay. Did you have a contest for ugliest sweater?
We did not, no. We pulled it together pretty late, and then we actually got a little bit of promotion out a little late on it, too, because it was an idea that I came up with. And but it was actually sparred from John, because John ended up having a get-together with a bunch of people just to talk about another topic. And I thought, this might be a good way to do the last show of the year and go out with a harumph.
There you go. The last show of 2023 for the Bullet is going to be 1 week from tomorrow. That'll be an Alex Uli show. We'll be talking legal, so I don't know if we're going to be doing anything like that, but well,
you put your New Year hat on instead of your Santa hat. You put a New Year's hat on, right?
There you go. And I've got somewhere around here, I'm going to have to wear it tomorrow for Training Friday. I've got a Santa baseball cap. I don't know where it is right now. I just looked at my stack of baseball caps I have over to my left here. I don't see it right now, but I'll have to go dig that out and wear it tomorrow.
Cool.
Our next story here, and by the way, John, thank you for the comment. Don't be silent, everybody. Keep those comments coming.
Please.
This is off HighlandCountyPress.com. This is a story about John Lott's Read. This is actually written by John Lott. For the second year in a row, the Centers for Disease Control has been caught ignoring science and letting liberal interest groups set its policies. Word that the CDC again is allowing partisan politics to influence its policies. This time, gun control activists got the CDC to remove research from its website. Yet the CDC is trusted to impartially dole out millions of dollars for public health research on firearms. From 2020 to 2022, the CDC and the National Institutes for Health each spent about $50 million on such research. Until May of this year, the CDC cited a 2013 National Academies of Science report showing that annual number of defensive gun uses ranged from 64,000 to 3 million. The CDC website listed the upper figure at 2.5 million, but now the CDC has removed from its website all those numbers and even the link to the NAS report. And he goes on to explain that this is all done through introductions by high-level senators and the White House between people who wanted the information pulled, the Brady campaign and others, with CDC staffers. And all of a sudden, poof, there goes the info.
Yeah. Who cares about the truth? Right? That's what it comes down to. They want their version of the truth to get out there. It's kind of like I say in my classes, the truth doesn't matter. It's what version of the truth that good attorney can make your jury believe. Whatever version of the truth the jury believes, that's the truth. Whether it's the truth your truth or not.
Yeah, and then going back to World War II, if you repeat a lie consistently enough, people will believe it. So,
yep,
that's
propaganda.
That's actually from a Nazi handbook. So, and then last story I got here for today. This is a letter to the editor to the Las Vegas Sun I found this morning. The person writing the letter says, in a recent New York Times editorial noted that the gun industry has reaped an estimated $1 billion over the past decade from sales of AR-15 style rifles. While this sounds impressive, compare it to the $205.5 billion in sales of iPhones in 2022 alone. And oh, by the way, that number I believe was from September, so it's going to grow from there. An argument can be made that iPhones and other smartphones and their associated social media apps have had a significantly larger impact on American culture than the AR-15. The editorial also noted that gun rights groups have donated $50.5 million to politicians from 1989 to 2020, mostly to Republicans. But this pales in comparison to the political contributions from teachers' unions of $48 million for the 2021-2022 election cycle alone. And almost all that teacher union money went to Democrats.
Yeah. Yeah, now you know why we homeschool. We homeschool our kids.
Yeah, and
it's interesting how they said AR-15 style rifles. I was a little humbly surprised at that. I was waiting to hear assault or automatic in the term. I'm glad that at least they said AR-15 style rifles. Have you seen the memes where people or the videos on Facebook and stuff where the people are stealing iPhones or like running into the Apple store and just like snatching up iPhones, and the employees step back and go, "Oh, just let them take them. Don't confront them. Let them take them." And then they run out the store with the iPhones.
I have not.
Imagine if that was imagine if that was a gun store.
Oh, good Lord! I'm going to say if I were an employee of a gun store, something like that, I would believe I could make a cogent argument for the use of deadly force to stop that robbery.
There was, I think it was in Vegas, there was a guy who did that. He had his, somebody was stealing his car. Now, he wrongfully put guns in his car. I guess he was an NFA. I guess he had his SOT. But he was putting guns in his car, stocking them, going into the store, coming back out, putting guns in his car. And I think when he came out, somebody hopped in his car and started driving off with the car. So he took his gun out and started shooting at him. He was convicted. No, if I remember right, I might be wrong with that. And I think he said, and this is probably what got him convicted, he said that the guy was trying to run him over with a car, and that's why he shot at him, which I would say, deadly force against deadly force, totally justified. But then the video surveillance showed that he wasn't anywhere near where the car was, and he shot at the car as it was driving away. And I think that's what did him in, but he also said he did it because he didn't want them to get those guns and put them out in the market. They didn't want them to get out to illegal people, but still, I mean, his whole premise was based on a lie. That doesn't help your case.
Not at all. And we cover defensive gun use topics on Polite Society podcast all the time, and almost without exception, my advice is if the bad guy is running away, it's time to stop shooting. Knowing that somebody's coming in brazenly just grabbing up armfuls of guns and trying to run away with them, you know what's going to happen to those guns. I'm gonna still say if they're running away, it's time to stop shooting. But I think there can be a case made that you're trying to stop them using those firearms to commit murder.
Yeah, in New York, citizens can perform an arrest, but I usually tell them not to because there is a lot of gray area there as far as what they can and can't perform an arrest for. But in that case, I'd say you can physically stop them. You can use pepper spray, tase them. I mean, there's other non-lethal, less lethal tools that you could utilize. That's usually my response. Like, maybe not shoot them in the back as they're running away, but tase them in the back. That might be, now you're not trying to take their life for that tangible item. You're just trying to stop them from taking a tangible item to take other lives.
Absolutely. Larry over in the Facebook side says a flaw in the law, but nonetheless, the law. So yeah, if you shoot somebody who's retreating and you are probably going to be going to jail.
Doesn't Texas have, I think Texas is the only state in the union that allows you to shoot somebody who's stealing property. I think I remember when I was teaching down there in Texas, they had mentioned that. But the people in Texas say, yeah, it's still, just because it's law doesn't mean that you're going to fare well in court. So we usually say don't shoot somebody over tangible crap.
Yeah. I would agree with that. With, again, the possible exception of deadly weapons themselves. Yeah. But I don't know. I'm torn on that one, because unless you are an absolutely horrible gun store owner, the firearms on display are not loaded, and you're only bringing them out of the case one at a time. So, yeah.
And I'd even say, like, if you had somebody bum rushing the store like that, rushing in like multiple people, right off the get-go, my first thought is, it's a robbery. They're coming in to do harm, and I'd at least pull my gun and stage it. Maybe not point it at them, but stage it and be like, stop! As loud as I can to scare the life out of them, and see where it goes from there. Because technically, I think anybody would feel death or great bodily harm if a group of people were running directly at them, not knowing their intentions.
Yeah, and
that might diffuse it.
Yeah, the difference of numbers is always, a what am I trying to say? A not a force multiplier, a disparity of force. Disparity of force.
Yep, definitely.
All right. Well, we are getting down towards the bottom of the hour. Matt, if you would, these things just fly by. If you would, Matt, please plug Meet the Pressers and anything else you want to promote today, man.
Sure, I appreciate that. So meetthepressers.com, that's the website for our show where we interview people in the industry that shoot guns. If you haven't shot a gun and you want to be on the show, then I'll take you to the range and let you shoot one of the things that we got on the wall or whatever. Up here in upstate New York, do training. PS&Ed, Public Safety and Education is my training company. I travel around the country teaching instructor courses. Just applied, Type 7 FFL just applied for my SOT, so I got my Class 2. Can deal in NFA items now, so I'm excited about getting some full auto up on the wall back there and shooting and blowing some more stuff up in the 2023 year.
Now, I got to say, I'm going to put your picture up here solo again. There's a new firearm up on the wall since the last time you and I talked, and I got to ask, does that Tommy gun there, does that have a giggle switch?
It does not. It's a semi-auto, but it's actually, I've had it for many years. Carr's been a sponsor of mine for a while, so they're a great company. But it was up here above the turkey, and the turkey was like right in this area, so it was kind of getting blocked by the turkey. So I thought I'd take it out and put it in presentation there a little. And then I also have the guitar.
There you go.
Guitar case.
I see it. Yes.
Tommy gun guitar case. Yeah.
Very, very cool. All right, well, that's the time we have today, and my dogs are telling me they really, really, really want to go outside, despite the fact that we're having a blizzard and 45-degree below wind chills right now. So we're going to go ahead and set this one aside. Again, Matt, thanks for joining us. Everybody, please come join us again tomorrow, 5 p.m. Central Time. Alex Uli will be here. It's Legal Friday. We'll be talking about the legal parts surrounding the Second Amendment. Thanks for watching, everybody, today, and we'll see you next time.